almost like the Flashpoint, where it starts, one of the key matrix lines that will help shatter this status.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Flashpoint Radio. I am your host, Jay-Z. Thank you for joining me. I had some other topics to cover here on Flashpoint Radio, but I'm throwing those aside and doing what I should have done last week, which is a special on the Bilderberg meeting happening in Chantilly, Virginia. If you don't know what Bilderberg is, I'll give you a quick rundown and we'll look at some stories revolving around this year's meeting. But please do your own research on this. The history's there. It's out in the open. They just don't want you to see it. It's hidden in plain view, as they like to say. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Flashpoint Radio, Facebook.com/Flashpoint Radio. Subscribe to this video. Like it if you like it, and reshare it with your friends and family. This information can be helpful for waking people up who seem to be stuck in the proverbial mud. We're going to start this evening with a boil down from my good friend, the editor over at tyrannywatch.org, Zachary Cole. I asked him to do me a favor and write me a boil down, a quick rundown of the history of Bilderberg, and he was so kind to do that for me and the viewers of Flashpoint Radio. So if you've never heard anything about them, this is your crash course on Bilderberg. He titles his article, "The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen." It would seem that the once-thought mythical group called the Bilderberg is being pushed out of the shadows and into the realm of fact. That is true. There are protests and mainstream media covering it this year, so it is no longer hidden. But for years, they wanted to keep it in the dark and prevent media from knowing anything or having any access. In 1952, Zach writes, the elitist group began as the brainchild of J.H. Redinger. He contacted Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, who was a admitted Nazi sympathizer and basically a Nazi, and some others, including Paul van Zeeland, to form a private conference composed of influential people in the fields of government, religion, finances, industry, unions, and scholastics to address the issues of economics, politics, and defense. Sounds like he wanted to affect policy around the world globally. The first conference in 1954 convened in Arnhem, Holland at the Bilderberg Hotel, hence the name Bilderberg. He goes over some of the names, some of the first members, some of the first attendees, including U.S. attendees. He states, it should come as no surprise that Prince Bernhard, Redinger, and others were proponents of a united Europe. In 1956, it was discussed, and then 1 year later, the Treaty of Rome was brought forth, establishing the EEC, the European Economic Coalition, I believe is what that stands for, and they had a direct hand in creating the euro. But it was started in 1956. Didn't think the euro was that old, did you? To give you a quick idea of what is on their agenda and what they have done, here's a short list of some of the events that have revolved and been influenced by the Bilderbergs. 1973, they influenced the price of oil to jump to 350%. In 1989, they made plans to depose British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, which happened. In 2002, they pushed back the date to invade Iraq until 2003, which happened. In 2008, they discussed microchip technology for global tracking, which, if you just search microchip, you'll find all of the recent headlines that's happening. 2009 discussed the possibility of a World Department of Health, turning the IMF into a global treasury. World Department of Health, but dealing with economics. Sounds great to me. 2010, they discussed the viability of the euro and the dollar. The viability, which means life, to be viable, to have pertinence in this world. The war on terrorism, which you know how our government loves that war on terrorism, and the threat of a Russian-Iranian alliance, which is still one of the biggest flashpoints out there. And last year in 2011, they discussed the Arab Spring, which you saw how that went. Internet censorship, which is at hand now, economic crisis, and overpopulation. Yay. This is a great article. I'm going to make sure this is posted up somewhere, but you need to figure this out. But this has been going on since 56 every year, and it rotates from North America to Europe. Many times it's in the same location. It is in Chantilly, Virginia, where it was in 2008. Please go see Zach at tyrannywatch.org and read his breakdowns on Bilderberg. He's got a lot of information there. Much more than you're going to get from me here at Flashpoint Radio. I like to give you the places to go find more information. I don't know everything. So we'll start with some articles from Infowars.com. Bilderberg has Alex Jones thrown at a Marriott hotel from May 30th. They banned Alex Jones and all other media, as they usually do, from the grounds. His reservations that he made were canceled, as were most guests in the hotel. And you think, well, that was written from Infowars.com. But the Washington Times states from Wednesday, May 30th, security tighter than ever at Bilderberg Conference. Secretive media only invites curiosity, which is good. Finally, a Washington Times, a mainstream trickle-down media source covering it. Of course, they say it only deserves curiosity. It doesn't deserve scrutiny. We'll see why it deserves scrutiny as we look further. From The Guardian, a British media outlet that's covering it, Bilderberg 2012, the technocrats are rising at this year's annual conference. This reporter dined at the Palm Court restaurant at the Westfields Marriott, which is being held, and one of the staff said, quote, "The leaders of the world are coming to our hotel. Are you here for brunch?" That staff member beamed. Oh yes, the leaders of the world. This article continues to go on that Bill Clinton was introduced in 91 by Vernon Jackson, and he said, quote, "I took Bill Clinton to the Bilderberg meetings in Baden, Germany." Later, after Clinton won, he said, quote, "The steering committee of Bilderberg came to Washington in January, and I called the president, and I said, 'Mr. President, they're here.' And he came to the Four Seasons Hotel, and the Europeans felt like they owned him because they met with him when he was totally unknown." And, well, that's kind of weird when you hear these names. These are United States citizens, United States heads of state. They work in our government. And from Infowars.com, Bilderberg meeting is illegal. Yes, it is technically illegal under United States law. It violates something called the Logan Act. And it reads as followed: "Any citizen in the United States, wherever he may be, without authority of the United States, directly or indirectly, commences on or carries on any correspondence or intercourse with any foreign government or any officer or agent thereof with intent to influence the measures of conduct of any foreign government or any officer or agent thereof in relation to any disputes or controversies with the United States, or to defeat the measures of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both." It just says they need to be fined or imprisoned for 3 years or both. It's never been enforced, even though George H.W. Bush met in 1985 and Bill Clinton in 1991 and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton in 2008. So, 3 of the last 4 presidents, yes, were sought after at the Bilderbergs and were brought to Bilderberg to be allowed to take the reins. And the Washington Times reported earlier this year that there's been talk and the vice presidency might be chosen this year, and it might be Marco Rubio. We'll see about that. But I will do a special on just the attendees list, so please look for that as well on Flashpoint Radio. But let's run down what they might be talking about this year at Bilderberg. From Infowars.com, EU tightens to address Euro crisis at Bilderberg. Well, the Euro crisis is happening, and it is roaring, and it is spreading now to Spain. And yes, if you don't think that they'll be talking about that, you're crazy. Bilderberg puts finishing touches to carbon tax agenda. You thought that was gone? Nope. These world financiers, and many of them, as you'll see, Republicans, Republican presidential candidates, conservatives, yeah, they're going to be talking about a carbon tax. Or how about Agenda 21, to be discussed at Bilderberg Confab. Alberta Premier and global warming alarmist Alison Redford will be in attendance, and she is, well, someone who definitely calls for things like carbon tax and basically depopulation, which that is all real environmentalists are. And how about this? How about what the mainstream trickle-down media actually thinks of the Bilderberg meeting? Infowars.com, sneering MSNBC anchor, I'm way too lazy to research Bilderberg. Luke Rudowski, great guy over at wearechange.org, independent, in-your-face journalist, asked some questions of Lawrence O'Donnell, host of, what is his show? The Last Word. I can't even think of his show because it's so inconsequential and it doesn't make a difference in this world. But let's look at what he decided to say, a little bit of what he said about the Bilderberg Conference.
Would you mind if I could ask you a question?
Go ahead.
It's just a very simple one. One thing that always perplexes me is there never a discussion about secret societies like the Bohemian Grove and Bilderberg Group and the role they play in our media and our politics. Have you ever heard of Bohemian Grove or Bilderberg Group, or do you think there's a secret society out there?
No, I don't think any of them matter in any way.
Then we have the Bilderberg Group that openly said that they chose John
I have no idea what that is.
If I could just tell you, it's a meeting of the most influential people in the world.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I have no idea what it is. So it's not. The world is simpler. I believe the world is simpler than you think. And the things that you don't like in the world are usually explained by stupidity. As we've evolved, evil explains less and stupidity explains more.
But
we are not smart enough as a society or as an elite to come up with the kinds of conspiracies that can work.
I'm not even saying
conspiracies are very, very hard to make work.
I disagree, but we could at least respect our opinions.
You know things I know nothing about. I can't disagree with you because you know secrets. What?
Are you curious to go look into the things he's brought up? Why not?
No. I'm way too lazy to do that.
That's what most of the mainstream media thinks. You're crazy. But as you'll see in my attendees list, that we're not crazy. These people are going, and you will be surprised to see who all will be there. You have heard of a lot of these names, and that's just a bit and a portion of it. So, Bilderberg, they arrived today. Alex Jones is live streaming constantly throughout the weekend. Protests are going on all weekend. It begins tomorrow. So just search Bilderberg and you'll find it. Ustream, Justin TV, Infowars.com/Bilderberg 2012. Go see it. Go do your research. Find out who really is calling the shots globally and who is causing your life to be a living hell. And if it's not, it soon will be if they have anything to say about it. Jay-Z signing off saying, God bless, keep your eyes to the sky and see me again.
Get too much. All the world will suffer. The wicked clutch.